Okay, welcome everyone to our, unbelievable, it's August already, right? Our August meeting for the village board. What is today? Tuesday, August 8th. Like I said in my newsletter, it's hard to imagine that summer's going so fast and what we've been having, but I thank you all for coming to the meeting. With that, I'd like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first on the agenda, as always, is public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment? Please raise your hand. I'll acknowledge you, then you have 3 minutes, and then we'll move on. Mr. Rossi.
Thank you. Yes. Hi, Mr. Rossi. I think this is on.
It's on.
Okay. John Rossi, 53 Violet Place. Hey, in May, the board passed a resolution supporting the temporary public toilet. And in that resolution, the board made quite clear that it's ADA compliant. The board also provided additional information specific to the specifications of the public toilet. And a third item that the board included, and I know it's difficult to see, but it's a map. It's a simple schematic of where the public toilet will be placed. So if you're interested in, and I think we all are, in helping those that are differently enabled, then this information that the board presented back in May is very helpful because it provides the full picture of ADA compliance, because it's really the sum of the parts, right? It's not just that the toilet is accessible, but that the path to get to the toilet is accessible. So this is good information. Now, in July, we have the water fountain that's going into the mini park. And we didn't have this information. I've reached out to DPW, I've gotten some of the information, but a piece of information that I remain curious about, and I think others too, is where exactly is the site of the fountain going to be? I almost said toilet. The water fountain will be where in the municipal park, in the mini park?
We're working on it.
So we don't know.
Well, we have several, we are working on a plan.
Okay.
We need to finalize. As you know, some things take a little bit of while to work out, especially when you're dealing with hookups and that kind of stuff. So give us time, it's coming.
The answer is we don't know, which, anybody could email to me. As you know, I reached out a couple of times. And I would just suggest that maybe we be a bit more measured when we say things are ADA compliant. The fountain may be compliant, but we don't have compliance until we know the location and the accessible path. Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Hearing none, we're moving on. So it's always a privilege to work with all of you in terms of our village budget and give you a snapshot of where we are with the budget. I'm sorry, did you want to do something?
Nope, I'm just
Okay.
trying to carry on.
Okay. And one of the things that we started doing way back when was giving a 6-month report of physically where we are, and then given a yearly year-end report. And remember, our fiscal year goes until May 31st. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Karen McLaughlin. I don't think she needs an introduction, but turn the podium over to Karen to talk about our year-end fiscal report, which I think is very important for a lot of people, and about how how fiduciary we are in terms of managing the village assets. And we're thankful to have Karen, our treasurer, who really puts a lot of effort into making this happen for us. So Karen.
Thank you. Just waiting for a little connectivity here.
She's still connected from the back.
Yeah.
We had no problem this afternoon. We just plugged it in and up it came. Can you turn it off and turn it back on?
The TV? Oh, it was just a petition. Sometimes it just takes a minute.
There we go. That bottom part will go away in a second.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you, Mayor, Village Board, and good evening. So in addition to the financial activity report, I would like to present a theme that is pertinent to the times. Last year, it was stability. Stability gained through good, solid information, which in turn allows the mayor, village board, and all of you, the residents, to make decisions that support, sustain, and promote the village of Rhinebeck. This year, it is safety and liquidity. Safety is the bank or other agent protecting our village's funds, their holding, and liquidity is our ability to access those funds to cover short-term financial obligations easily, quickly, and when needed. This requires a balance to invest, generate a profit, and provide liquidity. In this new age of ever-changing technology, safety also includes cybersecurity, a constant threat where security, education, and awareness must be at the forefront. The village contracts with a reputable IT company, but it goes beyond that. We are privy to our residents' personal information, and we take that very seriously. We contract with Invoice Cloud to make bill paying electronically safe. In addition to investing in automated security tools, we also look to build security in every stage of software development and deployment, modernize our data protection practices, and understand attack surfaces so that we're better prepared. Challenges and successes describe this year's financial activity for the village. We'll start with the expenses that this year total $3,174,326. So outside of vehicles and equipment, this year was quiet with expenses. The departments have done a terrific job keeping their expenses within their budgets. The Highway Department completed the purchase of a new dump truck from last year's insurance claim and purchased a new mower for $13,883. Roads repaired or paved were Cosine Avenue, Huntington Street, and Rockefeller Lane. Due to an increase in legal and engineering activity, those line items went slightly over budget this year. Last year, the village purchased the previously leased street lights from Central Hudson for $88,000. This year, we saved $36,060 on electricity for street lights. The increase in the cost for fuel, diesel, and gas caused line items to exceed their budgets. This chart shows just the relationship of all of the expenses. And compared to last year, it was pretty similar. Okay, so revenues total $3,069,492. And this chart shows the relationship between the tax levy and other revenues.
Can you zoom in again? Can you zoom in again?
Sure. It's like a touchpad, but it's not. I don't know, like, you know, very cooperative, so.
Awesome.
Is that big enough?
Perfect.
Okay. All right. So property tax remained under the 2% New York State tax cap. The tax rate for 22-23 fiscal year was $3.10 per thousand assessed value, down 4 cents from last year. The planning, building, and zoning departments remain active and strong with revenues exceeding their budget line items. State aid and mortgage tax distribution by Dutchess County remained constant, and grants provided revenue needed to expedite projects that would have been very difficult to fund. So, moving on here.
You can leave that big.
Leave it that big? Okay.
Yeah,
next section, I wanted to just take a minute to acknowledge the mayor and the village board, because behind the scenes, they do a lot of work on securing grants and going for funding, and I just feel it's really important to mention all of these. The water system upgrade, the village board authorized a $6.5 million bond for a water system improvement project, which a bond anticipation note in the amount of $425,000 is currently being used for engineering and design. This will consist of a grant and low-interest New York State EFC loan. The wastewater treatment plant and sewer upgrades, the village board also authorized a $5.5 million bond, of which a $325,000 bond anticipation note is currently being used for engineering and design. The comprehensive plan, Trustee Slavey has secured $10,000 grant from Hudson Valley Greenway, as well as a $10,000 grant from the Thompson Trust. She's working on CFA Smart Growth Grant for $100,000 for the village comprehensive plan. Trees, Deputy Mayor Lewitt has worked with the Frost Foundation to receive $35,000 for tree removal, replacement, and trees in the village right-of-way. Center Street, this project will replace the water main, repair, mill, and pave Center Street, and is a coordinated effort with funds from our remaining ARPA funds, the Water Department, and CHIPS reimbursement. Compost facility. Trustee Bertozzi secured 2 grants for a compost facility, one from New World Foundation for $100,000, which was return minus expenses related to the town planning board process. A DEC grant received for $200,000 is under review as a new location is being sought. EV Community Campaign, Trustee Bertozzi is working on a grant that, if successful, will guarantee the village $5,000. Thank you. Good. Flex Tech grant. Trustee Bertozzi continues to work with NYSERDA to explore more energy efficient solutions to replacement of the boiler and a new install a HVAC system here at the Village Hall. Dutchess County Community Development Block Grant, we received $150,000 to replace the sidewalk corners of Center Street and East Market with handicap accessible ramps, as well as the sidewalk in front of the Village Hall. In conjunction with this, the Dutchess County Mid Grant for $147,000 will be worked with that for a new ramp for the fire station, as well as a new fire rescue UTV, commercial washer dryer, and new life-saving AEDs. Technology grant, most recently, we received $26,000 grant to upgrade the sound system for all village meetings, new desktop workstations, and to upgrade to Windows 11. Autism awareness, we received a matching grant of $20,000 for autism awareness. The Autism Committee raised the matching funds. So as you can see, this village board is very busy securing grants, moving forward with items that support, sustain, and promote the village of Rhinebeck. Okay, so an essential part of the revenue picture is our investments in securities. The village has partnered with New York Cooperative Liquid Asset Security Systems. With rates continuing to rise, local government investment pools like New York Class continue to be an excellent investment option for cash management. Interest earned for this fiscal year, just going to go up a little bit so you can, in the general fund, $45,698. Water fund, $20,274. In the sewer fund, $13,461. This total interest earning of $79,461 was possible by maintaining a balance between the cash requirements of the operating funds and a balance to invest, generate a profit, and provide liquidity. It is important to take advantage of the high interest rates while they are here. So this next chart shows the relationship between the budget, revenues, and expenses. Due to unanticipated increase in some goods and services in all the funds, the expenses finished slightly over the revenues. Pretty close. The green one's the budget, the blue one's the revenue, and the yellow one is the expenses. And the first one is the general fund. I don't want to make it too small because the first one's the general fund, the second one's the water fund, and the third one's the sewer fund. The water and sewer fund expenses are slightly higher because there was some portion of those funds that were transferred to the capital projects for the two projects I just mentioned.
Sorry, is that what drives, we were over budget by like almost $450,000 or over $450,000? Is that what drove it, was the capital transfers?
Yes.
Okay.
And also, part of those expenditures was moving the money from, this is just the operating fund.
Right.
So it's kind of a combination of this and then the chart I showed you before with our investments.
Got it, okay. That's helpful, thank you. Yeah.
It's a great chart. That's my favorite chart.
Sorry, you get it back.
It was working when I was practicing.
It's still working.
It's beautiful.
So, all right, so this is our long-term debt chart. This graph shows a picture of the village's long-term debt and provides for planning for future projects and purchases. As you can see, 3 bonds mature, like the first 3, they mature like right around 2034, with like the second batch maturing at like 2038. And then that big chunk at the bottom is a 30-year water main improvement bond. But it's just a really good tool to kind of forecast these larger projects that we have coming down. So another tool that the village uses is 5-year municipal lease purchases. So new leases to the schedule include a 24 Sierra pickup for the water department, a 23 wheel loader, a 23 GMC dump truck for the highway department, a 23 Silverado for the police department, a 2022 Colorado trucks for the DPW and sewer departments. 5-year municipal lease purchases have been a convenient way to purchase much-needed equipment and vehicles. Each department is preparing a fleet schedule to spread out the purchases so that payments will not inflate the budget in any given year. This chart shows the 5-year monetary commitment, and as you can see, many of the purchases contracts will be paid up in 2028. It is our goal to stagger these purchases and payments. It's a work in progress. We're going to be meeting with each department and kind of working. Obviously, these vehicles and equipment will last longer than 5 years, so we're going to take the, the period of probable usefulness for them and kind of spread this out a little bit. So that's kind of our charge for this new year, to work on that. So part of safety and liquidity is maintaining capital accounts. The village has the above stated established accounts and a 3-year history for each. So we have the fire, the highway, the police, parking, parks and rec, sidewalk, water, and sewer. As per the fire contract with the town of Rhinebeck, the town's share or percentage of the unspent annual fire budget goes to the fire capital account, as well as a budgeted amount from the village budget, which this year was $60,000. So as you can see, the fire department, fire vehicles are much more expensive, so we need to maintain that and build that. And we do work in conjunction with the town and the town fire contract. Also budgeted this year for transfers was $6,993 to the capital highway, $10,000 to the police. Recent increases to transfers from the annual operating fund to the capital fund in the water and sewer are in anticipation of these 2 large capital projects. So they all kind of work with each other. So this is an analysis of the fund balance. at the fiscal year 5/31/2023. So as you can see, I'll just take the general fund for starters. The general fund starts with the 2021 fund balance, less the reserves, and less 25% of the investments in securities. So we're just making the assumption that we're going to keep at least 25% of those securities. That gives us an unassigned fund balance. We add our year-to-date revenue, deduct our year-to-date expenses, and we come up with a fund balance of $861,664. So I'll get into this a little bit later, but as per our fund balance policy, we keep 25% of the subsequent year in fund balance. So this 25% of the subsequent year comes to $709,124, which is $152,540 above the current fund balance.
No, it's the other way around.
25% of,
So we're currently over our,
We're over 152,000.
Correct.
okay.
We're over,
Right.
it does, the 25% is of the subsequent fund balance, the fund, the budget that we
24
just passed for
fiscal year.
23-24.
Yeah. Okay.
it's 25% of the upcoming budget.
Correct,
And we are currently above that threshold.
correct. Conservatively speaking, above it by that $152,540.
And that doesn't count the investment in securities and the assigned,
Correct.
Right.
It takes, right, it
Right.
takes out the reserves, and it just kind of secures 25% of the
Okay.
investment. So it is important also to note that fund balance is a net position and considers cash, receivables, payables, and due from amounts, pending grants, and transfers to capital projects. Maintaining a healthy fund balance provides stability and safety. So this gives it a little bit better of a picture here. So as you can see from the graph, there was a decrease in the water and sewer fund balances as funds were transferred out of those operating funds to the capital for those projects. Following up on the analysis of the general funds fund balance, you can see towards the bottom, this bottom line is the 25% threshold. So you can
So
see,
the policy says that we should keep it at or below 25%.
well, it says between 15 and 25%.
Right.
So 15 is the low and 25
Okay.
is the high. So basically, this is our 152,000 above the threshold. So I just wanted to clarify it by reading that should an unassigned fund balance in the general fund exceed the maximum 25% rate, the village will consider such fund balance as surplus for one-time expenditures that are non-recurring in nature and which will not require additional future expense outlays for maintenance, additional staffing, or other recurring expenditures. So, I just would like to finish up by letting you know that my part as the treasurer and the chief financial officer of the village, outside of paying bills, payroll, and budgeting, is to maintain accurate accounting records of all financial activity.
Or is that all you do?
It's just in a little, it's just a brief, it's an abridged version of it. The finance office plays an important role in the safety and liquidity of public funds. The finance office has stewardship over citizens' shared financial resources. These resources make possible the services that are essential to safety, livability, and vitality of your community. In conclusion, although the village finances are favorable at this time, there are challenges to consider. The labor force is changing. Finding and retaining good employees has been and will be a challenge. Aging infrastructure and equipment, cost and availability of supplies, equipment, and services. We have made adequate We've maintained adequate fund balances, we continue to monitor expenses and budget responsibly, and we are always looking for safe, viable resources of revenue that in turn stabilize the village tax rate. So 2022-23's challenge was the increased cost of supplies, equipment, fuel, and electricity, as well as the availability of these items. So 2023-24, our charge will be adaptability, the quality of being able to adjust to new conditions and the capacity to be modified for a new use or purpose. Thank you. Any questions?
Karen, oh my God.
I'd like to note that a lot of municipalities have 3 times the amount of people doing the work that we do here, that Karen and Chrissy do. So I commend both of you for the diligence that you put into maintaining, the bills, paying the bills, managing our budget for us all. It's really a remarkable job.
Thank you.
It is. We've said from the beginning, we can mess up some things, but one thing we can't mess up.
And that's the first thing you said to me when you became mayor.
Right. Now, the only thing is, I think you have the rest of these trustees thinking about how to spend that $152,000. So don't get
I
excited.
had to give you some good news.
Don't
too.
get excited.
But I also would like to mention Chrissy Deneau and thank her for her support and her help as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. So let's keep you on the stage, Karen. Let's go right into the treasurer's report.
All right. Okay, treasurer's report is for the period ending July 31st. The general fund ended the month with $127,292.77. The water fund ended the month with $92,950.02. The sewer fund ended the month with $144,570.93. The New York class for the past month is earning interest of 4.9845%, and that's compounded daily. Vouchers presented for payment in the general fund total $141,920.53. In the water fund, $55,434.51. In the sewer fund, $37,703.72. We've had some escrow bills for Locust Hill in the amount of $2,433.75. Engineering bills for the water system improvement project, $14,565. Wastewater treatment plant upgrade project, $30,788.96.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the budget as presented.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so 2 more things. Just the monthly operating statement is provided with revenues and expenditures through August 8th. And I just have one budget amendment to increase the budget in the 3410 line item, which is in the fire budget line item, for the police fire antenna. And those funds will be coming $20,000 from the fire and $7,000 from the police capital projects.
And those motions are already approved.
They were approved, I just need the budget increase approved.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve to increase the budget.
Okay?
Second.
And that's all I have.
To
Increase the budget by,
increase 34102.1,
I get my 7,000.
34102.1.
Yeah.
Basically pay the bills.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So approved. Very good, thank you. Okay, moving on. Next item on the list is purchase requests. The first item is Superior Telephone Systems. I don't know if everybody realizes the very complex system we have here in terms of telephone operating systems, but we use Superior as our trunk for all of our communications via telephone. Right? We have Spectrum as our internet provider, but Frontier is our telephone provider. And one of the things that we need to do is approve the contract with them to continue that service in terms of the repair and the maintenance and the upkeep, and additions and changes or whatever as we move on with the telephone. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the new contract with Superior for 2023-24. I have a second.
Second.
Discussion.
At some point, like let's say if we get really good internet, would we swap over the phone systems to voice over IP?
Definitely should look at it.
Okay,
Why not?
right, it's
Right.
part of like village hall upgrades.
Exactly.
Okay, all right, so this is
When
only
we
a
look,
one-year contract though, right?
just so you know, when we did this X amount of years ago, it was more expensive for us to do it with the current telephone operating systems than we had. So we had Superior in here. Superior already had the wiring infrastructure. Superior had everything. So
Yeah, I get
it
that.
was a good financial decision to stay there for
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next purchase item is a turbidity meter. For those who don't know what a turbidity meter is, right? Or how many here know what a turbidity meter is?
Because we all sat through that presentation.
So our water treatment plant requires on turbidity meters to maintain our water flow and analyze turbidity levels in the river. Because as you all know, we get our drinking water from the river, and the river has turbidity in it, and one of the things we need to do is monitor that, because at some point if turbidity gets too high, we have to then start making adjustments to be able to do that. We need to replace the turbidity meter. So these are not cheap items to do, but it's a required item and it's a single source. So I'd like to make a motion to accept the pricing quote of $18,187.50 to purchase the turbidity meter for the water treatment plant.
Second.
Discussion.
Is this in the budget?
Yes, they
Yeah.
budgeted 20,000.
Great.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Resolutions.
Okay.
You're on, Rick.
Thank you. So we put out bids for the Center Street Improvement Project, which basically is to repave Center Street north of Market Street, and on the section of Center Street from Market Street down to South Street, we'll be pulling up the street, replacing the old water line that's in there, improving the drainage, and then repaving the street. That's also, if you notice, married to, or it's going to be simultaneous with the sidewalk improvements that are going on in front of the building. So we received 8 bids. There was a contractor's walkthrough. We received 8 bids, and they ranged in price from $385,680 to $1,462,710. And that was for the complete project. Yes.
Did somebody misread the ask?
Well, it's very interesting, so I'll get to that. So we had our village engineer, Ty and Bond, evaluate the various bid proposals that came in and vet the companies that gave their bids, and they did a really nice, lovely breakdown of where people's costs were. And it turns out that the winning bidder was much more reasonable in what's called mobilization and demobilization. That is the cost to drop their stuff off and pick it back up again, which ranged over $50,000 or more for some of the bids. So it turns out that a lot of the prices, their price forecasting is very good, but these mobilization charges, because they're lower, make a big difference in the bid. So based upon Ty and Bond's recommendation, I'd like to accept the bid from Merit Construction for $385,680 for the Center Street Improvement Project.
Second.
Okay. And I'll just say that as part of Ty and Bond's due diligence, they did call and vet with other municipalities, all Merit and some of the other contractors.
Have we, has the village ever worked with Merit?
We have not worked with Merit, they're over in Saugerties, but Time Bond called several people, called several municipalities and said they've been in business for 40 years, we've had a great relationship with them, they do very well. So we were really quite favorably pleased by the amount that this bid came in. There'll probably be some additional expenses. We have probably another $10,000 to $15,000 in Time Bond's oversight for the project. And as usual, there we go, as usual, there will be change orders.
So to tie in with that, as Trustee Lewis said, what we like to do is lock in what our engineering fees are for projects like this, so it doesn't become a floating number and something that we're approved. So one of the things we did was, after the meeting where they reviewed all of the bids, everything, we asked Time Bond to give us a closure on the engineering costs, because we use them for drainage, the study, designing and permitting, going through the bidding process, clearing the biddings, construction administration, and then construction observation while they're on site when the contractors are here. And that's just for the first phase out here. And then as Rick mentioned, we have the addendum to it, which is the other side of Center Street, which brings it up to the $385,000. So that's what we're calling phase 2. And there's additional design that goes in with that and additional construction. So I'd like to, when you make the motion, to include the cost to amended tax order number 26 to $96,050.
Oh, so we came through it, okay. I've not seen that yet.
Yeah, it was yesterday, sorry.
Okay.
But let's close out business when we can.
Sure. So I'd like to amend my original motion to accept the bond from Merit Construction to add the acceptance of the contractor, what is this?
That's the task order.
Task order from Time Bond for $96,050 for the items that Gary mentioned, planning, design, bidding, construction administration, signing off, additional construction, phase 2 design, and then phase 2 observation and confirmation.
I second your motion.
Second. It's task order 26.
So Rick, just for everybody, one of the things we talked about was the scheduling. Do you remember?
Yes.
That we talked about. Do you want to bring up in terms of what they?
Well, I have not heard from them.
Well, no. When we had the review, their goal is to have it done this year,
Oh, yes.
except for.
Okay, right, okay.
Remember
So,
that?
yes, sorry. So, some of the things were still up in the air. It is likely that what's going to happen is they're going to tear up Center Street first, do the water main improvements, do the drainage improvements, and then let the street sit over the winter.
Oh. No, it's a
basically-
trench path
it's a
for the
trench-
water,
it's a
not the
trench-
whole street.
it's the
Oh,
trench. Well,
okay.
right.
But then it'll be packed, it'll be filled.
Filled.
And they'll
filled.
patch the trench,
Right.
right? And then they'll mill and,
And then in the spring, they'll come
Okay.
back. And the idea is here that you have to, when there's a trench like this cut for the water main, it has to settle for a period of time.
okay.
And so by the time they get started here in the fall, it'll be winter. It's not, the paving plants will probably be closed.
Right.
So they will seal it up, we'll let it settle over the winter, and then they'll come back in the spring and pave the section, the section north of Mill Street, of Market Street, and then the section south. So, well, the water infrastructure is gonna get better this year.
Hopefully not have any leaks.
Yeah, right.
The road
The road won't.
The road will continue to get worse.
Lydia, it's not going to be any worse than what it already is.
Yeah.
No, I get that. I get that.
Yeah, so that was, and that was the discussion. We're not sure that that's gonna happen, but it seemed like a likely scenario.
But we did ask them to also look at doing all of the north part of Center
We
Street,
haven't heard.
but we have not.
Haven't heard about that.
We
Yeah, I was gonna
asked-
ask, given that this bid came in so low, can we do the water improvements that we wanted to do on the north part?
No.
Okay. That's done. That conversation is over. I'm
We're-
willing to have that conversation.
In terms of the budget and where we're spending the money, the 242 and the chips and everything else.
Yeah.
Because we're
It's baked.
really fortunate to have it come in where we are, because we had a 60% contingency on the original proposal that
Right, yeah, no,
Put
the
it on
glasses
the
are
chart.
like 1.4 or something.
We also
Right.
don't know if there may be change work orders or
Right.
if they run into something, so.
Who knows? Who knows what they'll
Good
find
that
out
we
there.
have a little.
Just out of curiosity, is the contract from Merit, and obviously it's not final or anything, but is this going, I don't know how it works with construction, but I know that sometimes with construction, you can hold them to a budget and a timeline, and they can't go above or beyond.
Yeah, and we'll draft that up with time bond to make sure that we have a,
Okay, because I
Reasonable.
don't want to have them come in, you know,
yeah.
not super low, but low,
And
and,
then, and then
Then task order us to that.
put,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's one of the things we talked about
okay, good.
when we went through the budget review meeting.
Okay,
Because I agree with you, we did not want to be, you know,
right,
nickel and dime to death for everything. And what engineering told us was the main portion of this is pretty well defined.
okay,
You know, it's not like there's a lot of ambiguity and, well, what about this and what about that in this order, in this task.
right,
It's a straightforward, here's what you do.
right.
Now,
And we already
Now,
purchased some of this, right?
we purchased a site.
Right,
So now the issue will be, like, for instance, if they're digging up Center Street and once they dig it up and they get down to a point where there's no, I'm gonna call it underlayment, but it's not the right term. But if they get down to where that, below the street pavement, there has to be a surface that has to be suitable for maintaining a roadway,
yeah,
we've dug up a lot of that, some of that, in terms of doing water repair.
right. We don't know how much, and,
We need-
But when so there may be a few items where we have to come in and do more street repair,
Got
but
it.
that's anticipated and we're aware of it.
and that would happen in the spring.
Correct.
Or it could happen when they dig the trench and put it back in, they could put that underlayment in, let it settle, and then because that part doesn't get milled.
Got
And then
it,
they mill the rest, and then that part is still there.
got it, okay.
And I would say that, I forgot the gentleman's name from Time Bond, was he did call
Ryan.
around,
Rose Ryan.
Ryan from Time Bond, he did call around to ask people about Merit, and he basically got uniformly very positive reviews for their work,
Yep,
and their management, and their budget management.
oh, great, okay. Just sort of.
This is great things.
The range of prices.
It really is.
Fascinated by
Yes. Yeah. Budgeting's an art. Oh, so we have a motion on the table.
Yeah. And we seconded it.
Okay.
Any discussion? Any other discussion? It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, let's get this done.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye, finally. Thanks, Rick. Thanks, Gary.
You're up.
All right, so as everybody knows, we are in the process of working with our Climate Action Planning Institute through the Hudson Valley Regional Council and working with a group called ACLAY. We have completed our government operations greenhouse gas emissions inventory and are working on a climate action plan to address all that data that we gathered. But luckily, the CAPI program is now kind of extending this offer so that we can also take advantage of those free technical assistance services to do a community-wide greenhouse gas emissions inventory and then climate action plan. So first with government operations, the thought is like take care of your own house first, and then you can move out and work with the wider community to look at things more holistically. So there's a resolution here. I don't think I need to read the whole thing, but it's just saying that we, the village, are signing on to extend our work with the Climate Action Planning Institute to do the community-wide greenhouse gas emissions inventory and climate action plan. And that phase will involve more community engagement. I think we will have more interest from the community because we'll be looking at not just, our government building and operations. So I'd like to make a motion to pass this resolution.
Second.
Any questions?
Just get us more points towards our
Yes,
certification.
so, yeah, and so it does get us points towards our Silver Climate Smart certification. And this is also a really great opportunity to talk to the wider community about what our goals are in terms of reducing our emissions. And so I'm excited about it. Yeah.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Very good. Lydia, I skipped over task order number 29.
Yeah, there's at the end.
Oh, yeah,
It's at the end.
No, it's the comprehensive plan.
Okay, I can do that now.
That's,
Um,
oh wait, that's, I'm sorry. Look at two lists, a list here and a list there.
yeah, that's
But that's
okay.
all right, you can go.
Do you want to?
You can go and I'll come back.
Sorry.
You're already launched, there you go.
So we have a updated task order from Ty and Bond, an amended task order from Ty and Bond in order to finish the work of the comprehensive plan. As is expected as of about 6 to 8 months ago, the process is taking longer than we originally hoped and planned for. I think that the process, the timeline was always very aggressive. Better to hope for aggressiveness. But given the amount of work that the comp plan has done, I think that they have done an extraordinary amount of work in the amount of time that they have taken. So it has taken longer than a year, but they've really kind of blown it out of the water in a lot of ways. To the point where actually Dutchess County Planning was trying to figure out a way. I was having a funny conversation with Dutchess County, our representative of Dutchess County Planning the other day, and he said that he was trying to figure out a way to have the process that we've been doing be a model for other communities. And I was like, well, do you have 100 volunteers who are willing to engage in a really fulsome way over the course of a year for that? And he was like, I don't know. And so, you know, the amount of work that the comp plan has done and the amount of time that it has done it is really a testament to the number of really active volunteers that we have in this community. And I can't thank them enough and be grateful for the activism that we have here. But that being said, the work of the comp plan committee to finalize the plan is not going to be complete until probably this spring. And so we have an amended task order to bring Ty and Bond side of this to just over $140,000. I was talking to Brandy about it, and she said that given what is required of comp plans these days, the state is no longer even allowing people to apply for grants for comp plans for less than $100,000. Not people, entities. So there's a recognition on the state level that for whatever reason, these projects are becoming something that cannot be completed for less than at least $100,000. And given what we have done, we're going to, by the time we're done, have produced probably a $500,000 report for somewhere in the neighborhood of $150,000. So it's a bummer, but it is also sort of the cost of doing business these days. We do have this in our budget. We expanded our budget for 23-24 to be able to handle this increase, but here we are with the amended task order.
This is the 80,000 that we put in?
So we put in $80,000, and yes, and then we budgeted an extra $60,000, an additional $60,000 this year. So, yes. And then we've gotten to grants. This doesn't include
The
the grant.
80,000, did we do that from fund balance?
From last year?
I'm just trying
That
to-
was budgeted. Was it from fund balance? don't
Because I
remember
just
if it
have
was
60 in the operating budget, I'm just trying to think of where that,
for 22, 23?
no, for 23, 24.
Yeah, it was $80,000 in 22,
I remember,
23.
I remember us using the figure 80 in our budget
So
discussion.
80 to roll up, to be added to the 23, 24.
No, for the 23, 24, we added $60,000 to the
Right.
budget. Yeah, and that's all we need for the moment. For the moment.
Okay, because I just have 57,600 left in the budget.
Yes,
There's
and
a
that
couple
2,000 and change came from Ty and Bond.
Correct.
So this includes that.
But is it 100, is the 140 counting that from?
It's the total.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
It's the 60 plus.
Plus
It's
what
the
we
80,
said
it's the
last
80
week.
plus.
Plus.
the
Plus,
60.
okay,
Yeah.
got it. So the balance is just what we have budgeted for this grant.
Yeah.
Got it, okay.
Motion?
Oh, I make a motion to accept the amended task order 29.
Second.
Time bond.
Second.
Given the way these projects go, if it takes us longer than we anticipate, there's going to be a higher expense then, right?
Yeah, because every month that goes by, not necessarily that, it's just every meeting that they come to is an expense. Every, phone call they take is an expense. And we've really tightened the process around the consultants. But it was pretty tight to begin with. So right now, actually, Michelle's just writing at the moment. And we've backed off the pace of the meetings. We were meeting twice a month. We've now backed it off to once a month as she's writing and sort of tripping across questions that the committee needs to answer, and then the committee gets together and answers them. That's what they're doing right now.
My mind is, do we need a contingency here to,
Probably, because time bonds, it spends the bulk of the budget, but we also every now and again have a legal question, and every now and again we have, some photocopying to pay for.
because I don't think this includes a contingency. This is our best guess of where we're going to be.
Oh, contingency from tie and bond? It does
Yeah.
include contingency
Oh, it
from
does.
tie and bond, yes. It does not include contingency on sort of the overall budget for the comp plan.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'll tell Michelle to keep working.
So earlier this year, the village opened up applications for a new laborer in the highway department. We received 35 total applications. Kyle, Amy, and I went through the resumes. We found 6 people who we were really interested in. Of those 6, 3 showed up to be interviewed. I will say that I was not able to be part of the interviews. I was on grand jury duty, so the interviews were conducted by Kyle and Scott and me at the highway department.
Oh, great.
After the interviews, they decided that they wanted to hire Quentin Connolly. And Quentin has been working for us as a subcontractor. He's been here since June 5th, and last year he worked from March to October. So he's a known quantity. He's helped us with snow plowing. He's done a good job. I think both Scott and Kyle are excited to bring Quentin on full-time. So our starting wages have been at $20 per hour across our departments. So I would like to make a motion that we hire Quentin Connolly as a laborer in the highway department, starting at $20 an hour.
Second?
Discussion?
Great.
Sorry.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Welcome, Quentin, wherever you are. Pending project, compost.
Okay. I'm excited about this. As you know, I've been working on trying to find out if there's a plan B, a path forward for our compost facility. And after discussion with the grant administrator from the DEC, so I'm talking about the $200,000 grant, I learned that we would be able to use that grant money still if we were working with a subcontractor. And so that got us thinking about working with a farm, a local farm. So what I put together this evening is an RFP we want to put out publicly to get farmers who are interested in working with us on this project. Trying to keep it local, within 4 miles of the village, and trying to find a farm that already has some experience with composting on their farm, already has their own equipment, and that would be excited to start adding food scraps to their existing farm compost. a lot more details in here and what we would bring to the table. As far as the grant money goes, we could use that grant money for the village purchasing the aerated static pile equipment. So this is the actual machinery that allows the food scraps composting process to happen more quickly and with less odor, vermin, other issues. And the village would own that equipment, which could be picked up and brought away if need be. And the village could also use that grant money for improvements to the composting facility itself. So if you're a farmer out there watching Panda, please get in touch with Martina at Village Hall, and we would be happy to answer any questions you might have as well. So I'd like to make a motion that we publish this RFP.
Second.
Any
So
questions?
the reason for the geographic restriction is so that A, it's easily accessible to villagers, and B, we're not trucking stuff all over the place.
That's right. Yeah.
So I don't believe that a farmer will allow us to have, villagers won't be able to free rein to dump.
No, I think the
There'll be
plan,
dumping, there'll be
Right.
collection points. And the reason for the closeness is to manage those collection points, to maintain costs.
Keep it tight.
yeah, keep it tight. Yeah, I should mention that the idea is that the village and hopefully the town, if they want to work on this with us, we would have drop-off points for the public to use. And that the businesses, restaurants would continue to privately contract with the Ozone, their hauler, and they could also,
They could drop it off whatever the way we're doing, or
yeah,
take it to this new place, right?
right.
What are browns?
Okay, so when you're making compost, you have your greens and you have your browns.
Okay.
Basically, greens is shorthand for your food scraps, anything that's very nitrogen rich.
Okay.
Browns are carbon-rich material, also known as bulking agent, like
mulch and
leaves,
stuff, right?
mulch,
Wood.
ground up wood chips, sawdust. Those all are very carbon rich, and so when you combine that in 2 to 3 parts to 1 part food scraps, and then add oxygen, you get
Magic
beautiful compost. Wow. Science, yes.
Okay, science happens.
So as before, where we were looking at using our mulch, this will not use our mulch.
Right, it would be whatever source of browns.
Whatever the
has.
farm or would produce. So a question, September 1st,
Mhm.
is that enough time?
There are not that many farms, so I'll reach out to them directly, and see if they're interested. But my thought here is that, the $200,000 DEC grant, they would really like us to get this process moving. We've been trying to figure this out for some months
So
now.
it's schedule driven
Yeah.
versus bid
Yeah.
driven? Okay.
And the more time we take just to get started is eating away at our grant window with the DEC.
And if
Is
we
that
don't
what
get
Yeah.
an offer or request back, then what do we do?
If we don't get any offer, I think that the plan C would be for me to come back to y'all and say, can we just work with the Ozone to have food scraps hauled away to Ulster County? Which I think is a fine option. It's just not necessarily able to take advantage of using this grant money. So it would just be a cost. And
A budget item.
it would be a budget item, and it would be, I think the beauty of what we're trying to design here is us being responsible for our own waste here locally and turning it into a resource. So,
when does the window close for DEC?
the grant window is October 2024.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we need to be up and running by October 2024?
Mhm.
Okay.
So would this be a, we purchase and then get reimbursed by DEC?
Correct, yes. Yeah.
Nice pivot.
Any other questions?
Okay, composting.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So moved. Rick?
Okay, so back in May, there was a car accident at Route 9 and the Lanskin Kill Bridge, which the bridge we've taken to referring as the Astor Bridge, although the bridge there has not actually been dedicated by Astor. There was a bridge on that location dedicated by John Jacob Astor. We'll get into that later. But there was an accident there, and the person's car wound up on our pedestrian bridge. And it knocked over, it destroyed some railings that were probably from the late 19th century, and there were some questions about the safety of the bridge. So we asked our Time Bond to go out, take a look at the bridge, determine if it was safe to use, and give us a report about what we should do. So we received our report last week. Basically what they said is the railings are not usable, but the bridge itself is good for temporary duty. The bridge is also due to be replaced by New York State in 2025. They're going to be doing a much larger project to replace both the vehicular and the pedestrian bridge. So our short-term goal is to clean up the bridge, save the railing, because maybe we can get it straightened out and use it somewhere else, which would be really nice. And then put up some sort of temporary fencing to make the bridge safe so that once again pedestrians can pass and use that bridge, and folks from that part of town have easy access into the village. So I've spoken with Kyle Amy. He's out talking to various fencing companies, and we're hopefully going to get a couple bids to see who can put up some fencing, rendering the bridge at least temporarily safe and usable until the bridge replacement in the state. So that's where it stands. Yeah.
Nothing to vote on, right?
Nothing to vote on, but I just wanted to give you an update. That's where we're
So
at.
according to them, it is safe to walk on as long as we get new railings.
We have to put new railings, that's correct, and so we just need to put new railings on it. It is,
So are you gonna look into new rails and we're gonna do this?
well, I think we're gonna look into basically cheap temporary fencing, cheap fencing that would be safe,
Right.
and then wait for.
Does that work? Is there such thing?
Yeah.
Well, again,
So
with
maybe
that-
not aesthetically,
It may not be
historically
aesthetic, but,
accurate.
it's gonna be basically something to keep the bridge open with the idea that it's gonna be coming down
Yeah.
in 2 years.
Okay.
Think chain link.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, it's not gonna be good looking, but,
Okay.
I mean, it would make no sense at all to spend a lot of
Yeah.
money on a bunch of railing that's gonna get ripped
Right.
up in 18
Maybe
months.
we could put a sign on it that explains that like, this is not
Sorry,
permanent,
right.
you know, just because
Hopefully not.
it's not in keeping with how the
Sure.
village looks.
Sure. And then the goal, we start working with DOT, is there was a bridge down there that was dedicated by John Jacob Astor. It was concrete. And our goal in working with the state DOT is to at least get a bridge that is somewhat reminiscent of the design that Astor had sponsored and paid for. And the reason why we can't replicate it is that traffic standards have changed over the years. So what it took to keep a horse and carriage from going into the Landsman is not the same thing as a 53-foot truck.
I mean, being in the middle of residential construction, I think engineering has changed dramatically.
Yes.
Maybe not necessarily, but
Let's
dramatically.
see. So that's the overall goal for this project. But we'd
That's
like to
good.
get this bridge open again.
Just out of curiosity, would the new bridge, like right now it's two different bridges. There's the vehicle bridge and the pedestrian bridge.
So
Would the new bridge be one?
The new bridge will be one bridge.
Okay.
And we went back and forth on this with DOT. One of the deficiencies of the current bridge is that it doesn't have proper crash attenuation for a car coming at the bridge, which is part of what happened
Right.
in our accident. And in order to design the proper curvature for the barrier, basically you have to put the pedestrian walkway inside that barrier. There's not enough room to have a bridge, have the curve out, and then have the pedestrian pathway when you get to
Got it, so the pedestrians would
What is-
basically be separated from traffic by like a curb or something?
Yeah, what we would like to do in our conversations with them, we would like to have some sort of at least decorative, either brickwork or something that would make for a nice visual barrier. So it wouldn't just be yeah, it wouldn't just be hard up on traffic. Hopefully there'll be a little space. We'd like to make it appealing. The old Astor Bridge had some light stanchions on it. It would be really fun to put some light stanchions back there.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to make a nice gateway to the village. So we did work long and hard to try to retain the two-bridge concept, but the physics and it would
Yeah.
require closing Rockefeller Lane, and we didn't think that was a good idea.
No, probably not. Can we put this lovely
So,
somewhere?
so the idea is the guys from Highway are gonna go down, they're gonna take it out,
Okay.
and they're gonna basically put it in the highway department.
Until we get
And
there.
then we have to figure out what to do with it. That fencing, as far as I can tell, was probably installed 1880, 1890. And if you look at the photographs, you can see it over and over again in all kinds of photographs. And it would be really nice to find somewhere or something that we can do with it. The designs.
We wouldn't be able to like put it on top of the nice brick thing that DOT is potentially, no?
No, we can't have something in between the traffic and the cars, because that would be something.
Okay.
Don't meet safety standards.
Yeah, safety, it doesn't meet safety standards. It would be really nice. They had offered to put it on top of it. I think we have to find a new home for it. But it is definitely a wonderful little piece of Rhinebeck history. And it's lasted, 130 years.
Yeah.
And so it would be nice to see if we can get it straightened out, restored, and then we'll find a new place to put it.
You want to give an update on insurance?
Sure. So one of the issues that we have is that there's a question of liability and who will pay for the insurance. The driver's insurance agency has accepted liability for the bridge, and having part of this report is getting them to also help pay for at least pay for the bridge. Or not the new,
Oh, like the new railings?
But no, well, they're going to pay for the value of the bridge as it's seen, and we'll have to work that out.
Like the whole bridge, the whole pedestrian, like.
Yeah, but remember, it's been depreciating for 130 years.
Their liability has a cap on it.
And, yeah, it's a cap.
And so when a cap is exceeded, so the question is, we can probably submit the cost of putting this temporary fencing in as part of that liability claim.
Okay.
And hope that we get reimbursed for it because we're underneath, and it'll be part of the overall cap of the repairs that are made to the bridge until the bridge is finally replaced.
Got it.
So DOT will be submitting a claim as will we,
Got it. Okay, great.
with the hopes that we'll get our money back.
Right.
Right.
Knock, knock.
Okay?
Was the DOT part of this here, was that damage too?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think yes.
Got it, okay.
All right, so you'll come back with bids.
I'll come back with bids, but I
Okay.
did like, because it's been
Moving
closed
on.
for a while, we were hoping to get it open a little quicker, but as usual, things
Thank
take
you.
longer.
Okay, so as part of the process, we're trying to replace our 50-year-old furnace in Village Hall with a new HVAC system, which will be much more climate friendly. First, we wanted to do a pretty thorough hazmat study of this building. As we knew from a previous project, there's asbestos in the tile mastic in the building. So we're like, oh, where else might there be some asbestos? So we had a firm come in and do some sampling, and we got that final report back. And unfortunately, they did find asbestos in some other items. The black coping around kind of the baseboard, it's in the mastic there. And then also
By
in
mastic, do you mean glue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know why it's called mastic, honestly. But, and then also in the, what's it called, the compound? The drywall compound? Is that what it's called?
No, well, the joint compound.
Joint compound. So, which could be anywhere.
Wow.
So that's a little rough.
Just FYI, there's block walls here. As fire protection, those block walls have joint compound in them.
Right, so there's asbestos in the right compound.
So if we're drilling through a block wall here or there,
Right.
we're gonna run into it.
Right.
So this hazmat study is really useful just to have on the shelf. Anytime we're going to do any sort of renovation, you know, say the fire department wants to upgrade their kitchen or whatever, like now they'll know where this stuff is and how to handle it appropriately. So the next phase of this project is to move forward with the proposal from ME Engineering to do, basically to do the design and engineering piece before then we go out and actually do the implementation of the new HVAC system. And so part of this design and design and engineering phase would be like the hazmat design. Okay, we're gonna drill into this wall, and so we need to flag that as a place where we would need to do asbestos remediation potentially, so.
Very good.
Yeah, so that's the plan. So this hazmat study should just be, you know, something that we have on file for any future renovations. And,
Kind of great, like, it's not actually in that many places.
well, they did a ton of samples
Oh,
all over the
The
building.
whole wall is the issue,
right,
not just where they did the sample.
right.
They sampled many different things. They sampled tile, they sampled the insulation around the pipes in the basement.
Right. Pipe elbows.
Yeah, so.
Fiberglass paper.
So in you know, not to put a silver lining on it, but like, it only showed up in 2 types of things. It only so happens that those types of things are pretty much all over
Literally
this
everywhere.
building.
Okay, got it.
So therein is the issue. So we did budget $15,000 for this next design engineering phase. Can I make a motion that we proceed with that?
Sure.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we proceed with the ME Engineering proposal for design and engineering for Village Hall HVAC.
Second.
The only thing I'd say is that right now, all of the asbestos that's located is encapsulated and is not a current
Yeah.
threat. It's not a
Thank you.
current threat to anybody at this time.
Right.
It's
Thank-
only
yes.
when the contractors come in and start to cut things and there's dust, and it's all about the dust abatement, that is the issue. So at this time, the air and everything
That's
else in
right.
Village Hall is perfectly safe,
Yeah.
perfectly fine. There's no asbestos floating
Right,
around.
it is a safe place to work. I just wouldn't want I wouldn't want Karen to be like, oh, I'm gonna redecorate my office, I'm gonna rip out that black coping, because that's when you get exposed.
Don't do that.
Don't do that, Karen.
Okay,
Okay?
good to know.
All
And
in
we should
favor?
make sure that the firehouse knows as well.
Right. All in favor, say aye,
Aye.
because they're gonna be doing some work real soon.
Yeah, we should.
That's a good point. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Peddler's permit. We have a permit from yearly that we get from Troop 228, Boy Scouts of America, who would like to do their fundraiser, which is selling locally sourced pumpkins in the village. They do this every year. I'd like to make a motion to approve their request to sell locally sourced pumpkins for the holiday season.
Second.
Questions?
Yes, I would like to declare for the record that I'm not ready for summer to be over.
Like delay fall.
I would like to delay fall for another month.
Except for Lydia, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, minutes approval for 7/11/23, our last minute. Vanessa, I saw you had some recommended changes that have been recorded. Anybody else have any requests or changes to the minutes? I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as amended with trustee Bertoldi's request. Do I have a second?
Second.
Question? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So,
I abstain.
okay, committees, tree commission, Rick.
Okay, the tree commission had 2 applications for prunings and removals. One from 39 Platt Avenue. The person actually requested the village remove the tree, but we informed them that the village doesn't do that. But the village, there's a dead and dying tree there, so the commission does recommend the removal of the tree by a certified arborist of the homeowner's choosing as soon as this is passed. May I have a motion to accept the tree commission's recommendation for 39 Platt Avenue?
Second.
Gary can have it.
All in favor, say aye.
Okay, and the commission also received a application from 29 Beach Street, and that is a tree that is ailing, but however, they had Dave's come by and take a look, and they thought that the tree actually could be saved, or at least have its life extended. So the tree is not going to be removed, but there will be some pruning and some feeding and some other work that's done. So I'd like to make a motion that the board accepts the tree commission's recommendation that the tree at 29 Beach Street be pruned according to Dave's Tree Service.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Much prefer pruning versus.
Yes, it was a nice, we thought that was,
It's not Central Hudson pruning.
it is not central to pruning, and people thought that tree, you know, was right on the border, and it's nice that they're giving it a good shot.
Yeah.
Vanessa, Climate Smart update.
Okay, exciting news, Climate Solutions Week is coming up, kicking off September 16th and going till about the 23rd. This is a whole series of events all around the Hudson Valley with all sorts of task forces like ours chipping in and putting on local events and promotions. I'm proposing that we do an event called EV Curious. And I'm hoping that the town will let us use the town parking lot. So the idea is that I'm going to invite all of you who have an EV or a hybrid to show up with your car and offer to give rides to your neighbors who are thinking about making the switch.
This isn't where we open up the hoods and show them muscle cars and then,
Well, you'd open up the hoods and there'd be no...
Yeah,
nice quiet battery.
Like a nice
Just-
little
yeah.
spot for your luggage.
Yeah, just open your frunk. So I'm excited about this. It's not my idea. This is a concept that happens. In fact, NYSERDA at the state level tries to encourage this because they have something called community campaigns. And if a town of our size gets 5 or more signups for people who are going to purchase an EV, then we would get a $5,000 grant from NYSERDA. So that's our goal, and I'm hoping this will generate some excitement. Also, Rugies has agreed to show up with some shiny new models, including a new Subaru EV, which I haven't even seen
Subaru's finally
yet.
made one?
they have one, I know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so September 16th in the afternoon. Also, as part of Climate Week, we were thinking of maybe doing another workshop.
So I would say, as part of my conversations with various folks in the DOT and other places, it seems as though the federal government is going to be opening the transportation alternatives grants. And these are big grants. They come up about every 3 to 5 years. And these are big money grants, and they require a fair amount of forethought, planning, and discussion. So if we don't want to, Vanessa and I were talking, there were several ideas that are out there for what we could potentially do in terms of sidewalks, Route 9, all kinds of ideas. So in order not to be caught flat-footed, we thought it might be a good idea to have a community workshop to talk about where we would like to, if we apply for a grant, where we would like to apply for this grant money, and how it would work. It's a competitive grant process. It hasn't been opened yet, but
We're hearing it.
we're hearing it, and the earlier and the better we can jump on the process, the better off we are. So I'd like to propose the date of September 19th at 6 p.m. as a board and community workshop to talk about transportation alternative,
Safe routes to school.
safe routes to school, other grants, the ideas. The village has had both a study funded by the then Poughkeepsie Dutchess County Transportation Council for sidewalks here in the village. They also did a study on the Route 9 corridor, so we have some documents that we can look over and talk about community priorities and that kind of stuff.
Were you hoping to have that meeting in this room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Planning board meets that night.
Oh,
And Karen and I won't be here that whole week.
Oh,
you won't?
but it's
No.
climate week.
We'll be at NICOM alternate.
Okay.
Actually, Gary won't be here either.
Oh.
No. What about Monday, the 25th?
Generally, Mondays are reserved for the fire department, but I can double check with them.
Yeah, they use it as a room.
Well, usually it's the first Monday of the month that they actually have the meeting up here.
That's when they have the meeting, but as per chief, they're usually up here.
Yeah.
Mm.
Tuesday, the 26th? And we'll say it's Climate Week bonus.
There you go.
Overtime.
Yeah.
Actually, just check the village website. If there's a meeting, it should be on there.
I'll check.
August, September. 26 is open.
Okay, great.
So this is for what?
This is 6 p.m. This is
You making a
really.
motion?
Sorry, I'd like to make a motion that we have a community workshop session at 6 p.m. on September 26th to discuss
Whoa,
the transport.
whoa, whoa,
Okay.
9 to 6 at 6.
Right, to discuss the transportation alternative grants program and potentially what we'd like to
So I
do here in the village.
won't be here that day, but I will make sure that somebody from the comp plan comes to that meeting.
Oh, great.
Because I'm sure they've got it.
Yes.
All right, awesome.
I can
So is
tell you
this
3 of them right now.
Workshop you want to have, or is it board related that you want?
We'd like to do it as a workshop, so we could have a pretty free-ranging discussion.
So a special board meeting, but it'll be for
It's a special board meeting.
Yeah, special board meeting.
Okay. Have a second.
Second.
Vanessa can have it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Very good.
I also want to mention, we've been approached by Sustainable Westchester about a community solar opportunity. So this would be just for municipal, village municipal buildings for our electricity accounts through Central Hudson. This would mean subscribing to a community solar farm, and what that shakes out to is basically 10% off of your bill and supporting clean energy. So I would like to move forward with that.
Is it 10% off, is it adjusted as their rates are adjusted, or is it, how do they calculate? I didn't know how they calculated the 10%. Utility rates go up and down.
Right.
So we get a bill, where's the 10% and who calculates the 10%?
Okay, like, how do we know that it's 10% off the bill? And are they working through Central Hudson, or do we have to set up all new accounts?
They work with Central Hudson, so it's not like we get like an additional bill for each
So,
account.
okay, so.
So it's
the board is
integrated
just-
there, it's
Perfect.
not, that was my question, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want you guys to have to deal with now, I
Because
have
we
double
had
the
done
amount of
that.
things.
We
Right.
had done that before. I forgot the company, but we did it for a year, and then we had done an analysis
Yeah.
of that year, of that fixed rate. And even with all the ups and downs, if we stayed with Central Hudson, it would have been cheaper.
This is not a fixed rate.
So, yeah, and if they do it through Central Hudson and we don't have to change account numbers and vendors, that's
Okay.
perfect.
So the billing comes out from Central Hudson will be 10% reduced automatically
And
we
it'll
don't
be
have-
done through Central Hudson.
through Central Hudson. We don't have to do anything.
Cool.
You're sure about that?
Can we get a
Yeah.
contract?
Yeah, so the next step is I wanted to get y'all buy-in before I ask her to write up all the proposals.
Come back with a proposal.
Okay.
Okay,
That's what I suggest.
Yeah.
I like, make a motion, come back with it.
all right, I'd like to make a motion, I come back with proposals.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anything else? All right. I know, The next is always sad news because whenever we lose somebody in our village and that works for the village, that has been a tremendous asset. We recently, one of our officers, due to health issues, is resigning. Steve Leung, who was a valuable asset in SRO, was very active in terms of our police department and was just a wonderful man. Due to health constraints, he has submitted his resignation, so I'd like to make a motion to accept Steve Leung's resignation.
Second, with regrets.
Yep. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then the last thing is really, really sad news for those who remember Richard Cunningham, who was a previous mayor for the village of Rhinebeck. Richard Cunningham was a trustee, served for 12 years, and then he was appointed in 2006, and then re-elected in 2007, and did not run it, and then in 2009 he was finished, recently passed away. He passed away October 2nd. He was now living in Maryland with his family. Those who remember Barbara, who also was the clerk for the town. At the same time, they were very much involved in the community. So with great sadness that I announced that previous Mayor Richard Cunningham has passed at the age of 94.
Wow, long life.
Yep. So that's, and then the last thing is our water plant as anniversaries. Matt Green, been here for a year.
Wow.
Congratulations, Matt, and thank you for being here. So now I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss vendor contract negotiations.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the executive session.
Second.
Going to,
We will.
Yeah, it's-
oh, okay.
Vote
Oh,
for an open
after.
session.
Sorry. Sorry.
Do I have a second? You
Second, yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to enter into, allow me as the mayor to enter into contract negotiations with our top fiber.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn our August 8th meeting at 7:59.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Under 2 hours.